me today. And so I feel that we are some of the most influential people in the entire country. And so I'm humbled to be here in the midst of you all today. So thank you. When I told my family I was coming here, I received a text message from my grandmother. And she said, "Dear Angela, I hear you're speaking in D.C. What organization is it for?" Love, Grandma. Can you switch it to the next slide? Hit it one more time for me. That is my sweet Grandma. And I responded to the text. I was like, "Grandma, it's just a text. But I'm speaking for the Sea Service Leadership Association." And she replied with, "Dear Angela." She said, "Sea Service, ? WTF. Love, Grandma." And so I called her. I was like, "Grandma, do you know what WTF is?" She's 93. She said, "Wow, that's fun." Yes, Grandma, that's exactly what it stands for. I'm glad. So if you hear some stuff in my mouth, you are right. I am not from Colorado. I grew up in Alabama. Yeah. We got so many people from Alabama. That is right. You guys will be my interpreters if my accent is a little too strong. We're from a place where if you go somewhere and order a water, no one's going to know what you're talking about. That's how country some places I'm from. And I grew up in Columbus, Georgia in my 20s. CSU, thank you. One thing that I had submitted in that they read today was my bio. And as I was putting that together, I kind of laughed at myself and I said, bios are kind of like a team's winning record only. You don't see a lot of the losses that are in there. And so when we read my bio, I promise you, for those 5 wins, there are hundreds of losses and hundreds of obstacles. And so one of the things I want to introduce to you guys today is who I am, how I joined the military, and then that journey to win in Miss Colorado. And what I hope today is that regardless of your rank, I had no idea there were going to be this many field grades here today. So regardless of your rank, regardless of your gender or your ethnicity, I hope that these leadership lessons that I've learned throughout my life can contribute to success in your career, success in your relationships, and in your own personal endeavors. Okay, can we hit the next slide? So one thing I want to share is I grew up in what I refer to as below the poverty line. I remember times in my childhood where stray animals got in the house through the holes in our less than 500 square foot mobile home. And I remember I was 5 years old, 5. My mom sat me down and she said, "Angie, we are not going to have money to send you to college. You're going to have to find a way to figure it out." And at 5 years old, I knew what she meant. I knew she was telling me that college was important. But like most kids, I always try to put a smile on her face. And I said, "Mom, don't worry. I'm going to figure it out. I am a princess." And another thing, we couldn't have made this up. Dr. Phelps and I had never met each other before today. I couldn't have made this up. I was told I was LD. I was told I was attention deficit, hyperactive, and inattentive type 2. Whatever that meant, I stopped paying attention. Hit the slide twice for me. So a couple quotes I want to share with y'all is, one of them is from the man that wrote and produced Around the World in 80 Days. He says, "I've never been poor, I've only been broke. Poor is a state of mind. When we were broke, we didn't want to see where we were, so we looked at where we were going." And then it was Einstein who said, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life thinking it's stupid. And so, the one thing that I learned through this at an early age, and this has been very important to me, is that life is not fair. And nobody ever said that it would be to us. I learned that there are going to be doors that are going to shut in our face that we don't deserve to be closed. And the creative thing for us is to figure out how to get around them. And I say us, I'm not talking about women per se. I think it's people in general. And I think everybody in here, we have cadets, and we have colonels, we have the Honorable James McPherson right here on the front row, and I know that we all can look at our life and say, I've had some obstacles to overcome, and some of them are not your fault, and some of them are your fault. And when they are, you say, okay, I messed up, I dropped the ball, I'm going to own it, and I'm going to grow from it. And even if they're not your fault, you got to own it, and you got to grow from it. Because I learned that nothing anyone is ever going to do to me is going to affiliate me with negativity. There's no label someone's going to give me and tell me that this is a negative label and you need to fix it. So, I chose not to take extra time on tests in school. I chose not to take special classes. I said, no, I need to figure it out. I need to figure out how to do this because I can't hit the pause button in life and say, I need more time. So hit the slide for me one more time. Charles Cooley is a famous sociologist, and he defines the way people grow to view themselves. He says, I am not what I think I am, and I am not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am. And that, if you're like me, I'm like, say that one time. What he's saying is, sometimes we grow to turn into what people have told us that we were. And speaking to a Buddhist teacher, he said, Angie, you can meditate for 20 years and you're going to come to one conclusion. He said, just be yourself. But be all of you. And I was like, I had to figure out what that meant. And it means that, who do I let define me? Do I let a doctor who said something was wrong with me? Something was wrong with the way that my brain worked? Or do I let people who rejected me in the past, those naysayers? And I know that is not how I define myself. And we mentioned it earlier. Naysayers are going to come by the truckload. It is not just one person. It is your fight against your own prioritizing of your time and what is precious to you. So that leads me to the next slide. I'm going to refer to this as leaders. Leaders know who they are. Now, at the end of this slideshow, I want y'all to know I've recapped all these, so you'll see them all together, but take notes if you like. I say, leaders know their greatest talent. And for sports was that for me. Sports was my escape. In sports, I didn't have a social status. I'm like, if you can hit a ball, you're going to be in the lineup, right? And so I learned that even in this career, it doesn't matter what your talent is. If you are confident in your talent, it will open doors for you. It doesn't matter what it is. So you just have to be the creative one to say, how am I going to show this to my leaders? So if you want to define yourself, say, who am I? Don't use your gender. Don't use your sexual orientation. Don't use your race. Don't use your rank. Use what are you best at? What are you better at than anybody else in the world? What are you most passionate about? What are your convictions? What are your dreams? That is who you are. Because if we all want to come together, that is what really connects us all. And when you know that you're authentic in that one area, then no one else can be like it. So, the way that I found out who I was at a young age, this was a strategy I learned to help things make sense to me. I started journaling at a really young age. And what it did for me, it allowed me to get all my thoughts and emotions on a sheet of paper, because it was all jumbled up, backwards letters, still happens. And it allowed me to thoughts so I could put them in a way that made sense to me. And looking back, what I realized that was doing for me was I was able to really hear my own inner voice. And I used that as a reference tool, because I didn't always have reliable sources to ask for advice. So whenever I needed to make a life decision, I looked back in my journal and I found patterns in my thoughts, patterns in my words, and I was like, I always found what I was looking for. I always was learning to rely on myself for advice and not pressure from someone else who thought they knew what was best for me. So I have a big arrow pointing to a little smiley face. That is your self-actualization. If you know what you're most passionate about, what you can make money doing, and what you are best in the world at, then you can look in your unit and say, this is the need where my talents can contribute to my team. So hit the slide for me. Leaders know their why. And defining your purpose and defining your why, this is a priority for your life. And I say that because in this career and in any career, you are going to face adversity. That is what leaders do. We face adversity for our team, right? You take the heat. And I was a pitcher in softball. I say, I decided to be a pitcher so when we won, I could win that W. And if we lost, I could carry the L so they wouldn't have to. And when you are in a leadership role, you are going to face adversity. And if you don't have these two things defined as who you are and your why, then the cracks in your foundation are going to surface when you face adversity. And this starts with you, what you define for yourself. So, one thing that Steve Comey said, he said, if I use human influence strategies and tactics to get people to do what I want, to work better, be more motivated, to like me and each other, but my character is fundamentally flawed or marked by duplicity or insincerity, then in the long run, I will not be successful. And so especially our young cadets that are here today, know this about yourself now, because your soldiers are going to see everything you do. Hit the slide for me one time. I got another P for our list. So after position, poise, we are going to say, hit the slide for me one time. We have the pinnacle of our leadership. And I said, when you know these things about yourself, no one can tell you who you are. No one's ever going to come to you at that point. When you know these things, you know your purpose. Because you are going to have spent time eager to learn. You're going to say, any opportunity you can get. When I started to run, I had been a banker. I had college first time I sold mutual funds and annuities. Because numbers did make sense to me. English is what did make sense to me. I started to run, and I was like, I'm going to run a marathon. And I went out running, and I couldn't run to the mailbox. I was like, whew. I underestimated the rest of these 26 miles. I was like at 0.2, you know. But I was eager to learn how to run. So joined a running club. I learned what shoes to get. I found a mentor. The mentor taught me all these things on how to recover, how to eat. Over a while, I ran a 10K and then a half marathon. I finished my first full, and I got into triathlons. I took a spin class. I said, I can't be a phony. I got to get a real bike. And 2 years later, within 2 years, I had finished Ironman. And I always say it wasn't the moment that I finished the race that I became an Ironman. It's not the moment that some of you were pinned general, that you became a general, was it? It was at years and years of sacrifice, of delayed gratification for an ultimate goal that you had. It is no coincidence that you will ever win. Winning is not a coincidence. Winning is truly a habit. And the way that you get those habits is putting little wins in your pocket every single day. Even if you went running and fell slap on your face and you are all skinned up, you say, well, I won today because I know what I'm not going to do next time. Okay? I always say that it is too hard to do all that selfishly. That race is way too long. This career is way too hard to do for yourself because it really isn't about us. I have two nieces that think I am the queen of Colorado. I'm like, yes, baby, I'm the queen of Colorado. As long as, if that's what you think, and if her eyes are bright and she's motivated, then that's what it is. Because what I learned is when I'm able to help those who are coming after me, and then I have attorneys and doctors and general officers asking me for a nutrition plan, the rank on my chest doesn't matter. And that's how you extend your influence beyond your chain of command. When you really are in unison with your purpose and you know who you are, I'm a first lieutenant. There is nothing that I can say about this career that some of the women and men in this room cannot preach to me. I'm preaching to the choir when it comes to this career, but I know what my purpose was, and I said, this is what I can offer. My work ethic, my attitude, my appreciation for my blessings, that's the one thing I can control. And I kept working, and I kept working. So what I tell some of my soldiers in the platoon was, Newton's third law confirms to us that all of our actions are creating equal and opposite reactions. Not just some. Not just the actions that we put out when we're in front of the formation, all of them, because they are going to see all of it, I promise. So we have to lead every single day as if it's actually possible to change the climate of our unit. Because it is. And sometimes we don't think so. Like, how can this girl from Alabama who grew up below the poverty line, it doesn't get any more humble than this, right? Grew up below the poverty line, told she was elite. How can I make an influence in my community? Let's go to the next slide. I say leaders know their team. One thing that I did, this is how I learned to start building a team, is I would sit down with my soldiers or even my teammates. We had mentioned it earlier, like, you have to know what their agenda is. You have to know what path they're on. And I didn't just ask them, where have you been before here? What what you see in your career. I wanted to know, what was going to take them away from training? Do they have a sick parent? I've had a sick parent, and nobody knew what I was going through at home, Do you have a special needs child? What is going to distract you? I paid attention to if they were in school. I knew if they had a final coming up. And I said, hey, you have a final tonight, don't you? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, how about you take off a couple hours early so you can study a little bit more before you take that test? Or it's your child's birthday today. How about you surprise them if they come up from school? That will build instant rapport, knowing that you care about what is important to the people on your team. Can you hit that slide one more time? Nelson Henderson says, the true meaning of life is to plant trees under whose shade you do not plan to sit. And this is how I became a military member. I joined the team. I met a mentor named Cecil Cheese. He's a very influential person in the community of Columbus, Georgia. And I saw his leadership skills, and I said, I got to be on this team. And he was the race director for the marathon that I ran. It was the inaugural race, so the first time that race had ever happened. And after that race, I introduced him to the idea of a fallen hero program. So runners could run in honor of a fallen hero, and more than just their name, I said, I'm going to do some research and I'm going to give them a story about who the person was, where they were from, and how they died. And he said, all right, you're on the team. So I didn't want to just pass out water. I knew that there was more that I could contribute to my strengths. So I joined a team. The committee is about 25 people. And these are all running enthusiasts, and they're all professionals in the community. But he knew how to put people in the right position. I said, you can have all the best pitchers in the major league, but if they're in the same dugout, they're not going to win a single ball game, right? You put them in the right position. So the next year, the second year of the race, I was a volunteer coordinator. I had people reach out to me and they said, can you make 11 bibs with the same soldier? And I was like, I sure can. And as I was doing the research on the soldiers, I knew that this was real. But when that group came and picked up those race bibs, it had the soldier's name on it, and I realized this is his wife and his brother and his children and his parents. And I learned what a Gold Star family was the moment that I handed that family bracelet that said, I'm running in honor of So I'd never had anything strike a chord in my heart like that. And I was like, wow, this is what's hitting me. This is one thing I'm learning I'm really passionate about. So I continue to do it. In 10 years now, it's been 10 years later since we've done that, and the Soldier Marathon has now raised over $250,000 and donated it to the National Infantry Museum, Team RWB, Fort Benning MWR, and numerous other nonprofit organizations in Columbus, Georgia. But we didn't do it individually. I couldn't have done it all myself. It was a team that had so much of a larger impact than what any one of us could have done on our own. So in my mind, being able to have these bibs to hand to runners is a way of thanking those who gave their life and planted the trees under whose shade I sit under today. Can you hit the slide for me? Another thing we talked about is seek new mentors. And I'm glad that we mentioned this a lot today. I was not a pageant girl. When the state director called me and said, have you ever done pageantry? I laughed at her. I was like, no. I'm the same height and weight as the average male, and I'm gonna look like a linebacker compared to the drum makers. I ain't missing no meals, y'all. Except for lunch today, and I will take pictures of everybody until the last person gets their picture, so I just want to know that. Okay, so when we are open to new experiences, my mission was to tell the stories of fallen heroes. After I had an experience, I said, again, I got to walk the walk. I said, I'm going to join the service. And then I became an officer, and then I continued that journey of honoring fallen heroes after I moved here to Colorado, and now I have, I say here to Colorado like I'm in Colorado, so. But she knew the impact I was having on other organizations that honored our military families, and so that's why she reached out. And I said, I don't really know if I want to be on stage, judge. And she said, don't you do bodybuilding? And I was like, yes, I do. Touche, ma'am. You will. So she was like, I bet they don't judge you on all your charitable work or your service. And I was like, no, they don't. And I was like, well, what's the incentive? And she said, well, pageants are about charity. And the national winner gets money to donate to her charity of choice. And I was like, okay, you got me. Where do I sign? Because she knew my mission and my purpose. So I had an unexpected journey ahead that I didn't know anything about. I didn't know how to pick out a dress, or pageants are too much of absolutely everything. Okay? They are tan and eyelashes and fingernails. It's crazy. I was more afraid of being a weekend with a bunch of pageant girls. I was like, just give me a rucksack and a compass and throw me an FTX somewhere. Okay. Can we get another slide? I said, one thing I learned is leaders take action. It is never the right condition to start whatever it is your journey says. This picture that I have is on the run across Georgia. It's the week leading up to Memorial Day. And that is a day, this was the hottest day of the year. And sometimes when you're a runner, you're like, well, it's a heat wave today. I'm going to wait till tomorrow to get up running. And there's an old saying, it's not raining in this picture, but I have an old saying now whenever I make up excuses. I'm like, it might rain on race day, so you better learn to run in the rain. And I'm glad that I didn't wait for perfect conditions to train. Because when you finally get an opportunity to do something big, I promise you, Murphy's going to throw that curveball at you, and if you haven't been training to hit curveballs, then you're going to strike out. But I say it's never a right time to do the wrong thing, never a wrong time to do the right thing. There was one time I trained up and I couldn't compete. In bodybuilding, the training is perfect. You have to eat specific meals and you have to train exactly at a heart rate for an endurance amount of time. I mean, it's tough. And one time I got injured and my friends were like, upset you wasted all that time training? And I'm here to tell you, there is no such thing as wasted time. It's your training that you grow. You don't just put ingredients in an oven and out pops the cake just in a second. It is, you have to put the time under the pressure. And what I learned is when I reached out to my mentors, they're the ones that taught me, okay, this is how you're going to go around that obstacle, because they had walked the walk. They had been there before. So take action. Don't say, I can't because of these things. It's never a perfect time to go back to school. General Richardson said yesterday, he's like, when it's time to have kids, have a kid, right? And I was like, yeah, my fiance. This was Preston, by the way. After this speech, I was like, I gotta concentrate. Can we do the next slide? I gotta stay on the script. Okay. Leaders make tough decisions. And I say, you gotta know all your courses of action before you hit your decisive point. Here's your plan, and then there's the pace. Know what you gotta do. So the reason, I have a picture here of Arnold. There's a photo shoot I did after Arnold. That's my little trophy. I'm trying to stand like the trophy. So leading up to this is not something you just sign up for. I had to qualify, and my unit was set to deploy before the competition. But you know how it is. You can't count on anything until you get orders in your hand, right? And then sometimes you can't count on it until you're on the plane and it's taken off. So I said, well, I have to start training 5 months out, and I might not get orders till 30 days out. So I started training. And I had some of my best friends, my training partners, they were laughing at me, because this is what my schedule was like when training for the Army. 0400, people are like, how do you have time? I'm like, I don't. This is what I'm doing. 0400, I'm up. Start cardio at about 0430, do an hour of fasted cardio, eat meal number 1, get dressed, go to formation, do PT, eat meal number 2, do my meals on time throughout the day, lift at night, then I go home, prep meals for the next day, and then I do my second hour of cardio before bed. And the reason why I waited for that second hour of cardio, because by the time that was done, I was exhausted. I couldn't have done anything else after that. And I did that every single day for 5 months. I didn't miss a single workout or a single meal in 5 months. It's 6 meals a day. I'm telling you, when you are set in on what your purpose is and what your goal is, there is nothing that is going to come in your way. For you parents, you don't forget to feed your kid. Maybe, I'm not a parent yet. You all rephrase that next time. But, again, winning is never a coincidence. And when a couple months before deployment came, I learned that HHC in my battalion wasn't deploying, and I was ready. You've heard like preparation, luck happens when preparation meets opportunity. We've heard it, and I was prepared because I knew what was important to me. Sometimes we don't know how our strengths or our passions are going to come into fruition, and sometimes you're going to have years and years and years of growing in the dark. I'll tell you, bodybuilding is a lonely sport. Not only am I eating these 6 meals a day, no one's eating what I'm eating. No one's eating fish and spinach and rice, you know, especially Creston. He's like, So going that length of time, not even being able to break bread, you really realize, okay, this is important to me and I have to stick with it. Let's hit the next slide. So here's a summary. This is how you open doors to your life. Know who you are and know what your strengths are. That's your priority. And sometimes, every time you make it to the next level in life, you might have to redefine that because it changes. When you're a kid, finances might not have been your priority. But find areas in your life that you will need to improve on, and then know where your strengths are and know where you need to work on. Know why you are on your path, right? So when you face adversity, you're ready. It'll get you to the other side. Clearly define your goals and take action. So when I say clearly define them, write numbers, write dates, write how, write down your mentor's name. And then we said, have a mentor who is strong in that area to hold you accountable. You have to talk to this person. They have to agree, okay? Or else you're just a creep following someone around. I've done that before. I'm like, let me ask you one more question. And they're like, yeah. Inform your inner circle that what your endeavor is. When I competed at the state pageant, I had a trophy I made for Creston, because I knew what he was getting into. He had never dated a pageant girl. He had no idea what he was getting into. He had no idea he'd be sitting down here taking pictures of me and my girlfriends here. And I got him a trophy that said, at the time, it said, world's best boyfriend. Because I knew, I was like, I'm going to need you to help me. I'm going to need your support throughout this journey. Schedule time each day to focus on this area. Schedule it as if it is an appointment. Because this is for you. And whatever your goals are, you have to make it a priority. With that time that you schedule, you can evaluate your progress every single day. Say, this is where I moved the ball. I got this down. Now look back. Here's another component of this goal. This is where else I need to improve that next time. So set an accomplished date. Somebody asked a question earlier about a time frame. There is no maximum length, but this is my opinion for what it's worth. There is a minimum length. Don't set a goal less than 60 days out. Give yourself some time. I say, if I'm going to do an 18-week prep for a show, I start about a month before the 18 weeks, because it's going to take 30 days just to unscrew my diet and everything else, all these bad habits that I've accumulated. So give yourself the first 30 days to reverse those bad habits, and then the next 30 days to replace those habits with something new, okay? That's my opinion. And then never forget, celebrate. Celebrate those wins in your pocket. Set benchmarks. Say, okay, this is a one-year goal. Every 3 months, we're going to reevaluate where we're at and see what kind of progress we've made. Those little celebrations give you a break, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, right? And you celebrate with that mentor in your inner circle. Because really, those are the only people who matter. We think that some people who call us every 10 years, yes, it's great to keep up with them, but your inner circle, that is who is your foundation, okay? And then one of my favorite quotes, does anyone remember who Ann Sullivan is? She is Helen Keller's teacher, and she says, people seldom see the painful and halting steps by which the most insignificant success is achieved. So these steps have allowed me to make my dreams a reality. In both my career, my education, and my personal endeavors, my relationship, believing in limitless growth sets you on an ascending spiral of personal effectiveness by which your future is absolutely guaranteed. And it starts with you defining who you are and what doors you want to have open in your life. That's it. Can you hit the slide for me one time and one more? I just want to say this is my work email and my personal email, and then my Instagram account. And I say, I want to hear your story. If I shared you my story, I hope you got some gold nuggets from it, some wins that you can find in your life, but I want to hear your story. I want to know what you've gone through, because I always want to grow, and I'm okay with sharing. So tell me your story. I encourage you to reach out to you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, we don't have a lot of time for questions and answers for Lieutenant DeMatteis, unfortunately, because the under has a hard schedule. However, I want to go ahead and speak on everybody's behalf and say that Lieutenant DeMatteis, all that you've done with pageantry, with sports, with everything that you've done throughout your career, I would say you need to change your bio. This is not an iron man. That's an iron woman.